In the name of the risen Christ, amen. Hallelujah, Christ is risen.
The Lord is risen indeed. Hallelujah.
I love this story of Thomas. It is so beautiful and so human. You can only imagine Thomas's heartbreak. Can you, that what he really needs from Jesus is to see the wounds. That's going to be the way that he knows that this is really Jesus. Because it must have been shattering to see the one that you had left everything for die on the cross. And that the others had had this experience, well, fine for you. Fine for you. But I've been burned. And then Jesus comes to him too. There's probably a little historic rivalry between the communities of Thomas and John. When the people who put together the canon of the scriptures were at work doing it, there was some actual competition between the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of John, and John 1. So sometimes I wonder if maybe this little jab at Thomas, making him the doubting one, might have been rooted in some of that. But Thomas also, the Gospel of Thomas, also seems to really appreciate the importance of doubt and wrestling and struggling in the spiritual journey. In John, we also hear the seeing and hearing as metaphors for spiritual perception. Jesus says, "Blessed are those who believe without seeing, who believe by virtue only of hearing." There seems to be some kind of difference between hearing and seeing. When you think about it, when we see with our own eyes, we do tend to be compelled to believe what we see. But if we just hear about it, I hear that, we are given permission to hold that reality at a safe distance and make a choice about what we will do in response to that reality. I think in some ways we could say that that is one of the gifts of the fall. That when human beings lost that direct conscious awareness of God, we were given the gift of choice. We were given the gift of faith as a means of knowing God's presence. I think a lot of times we bemoan that gift. But we are not compelled to believe. And God would not have us be compelled to believe. Because believing is more than giving an intellectual assent to God's existence. God doesn't need that. He's not so insecure that he needs us to agree that he exists. What God is desiring in relationship with humanity is far more than that. What faith is about is relationship. A relationship of trust and obedience. That's more than seeing that God exists. It is hearing, taking into ourselves God's purposes and intentions and participating in them. So that the Gospel of Thomas begins with this little phrase about hearing. The one who hears these words will never taste death. Meaning the one who not just perceives it out there, but takes it in, digests it, and makes it part. And the second or third, I don't know, very early in Thomas, there's this really interesting piece where he says, the one who seeks, let that one not cease to seek. That is, it's not always going to be readily obvious. In fact, it shouldn't be readily obvious. In fact, seeking is a lifetime occupation. One will seek and continue to seek. And the one who seeks and continues to seek will find. But when they find, if they are genuinely finding and continuing to find, they will become troubled, Thomas says. In other words, this thing you find will not be an easy thing to find. It will rattle your cage. It will question your ego. It will demand something of you in response. It will change your perception of yourself in the world. When you find, you'll become troubled. And if you continue to seek once you've become troubled, you will then be amazed. You will then be amazed. The world will open up before you, and a new vision will be